Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to another stream. It is Tuesday, which is odd, I know, because we are, I'm going to turn that down a little bit, turn that down a little bit for me. We are doing things a bit differently now, which is partly what we're here to talk about. A lot has happened. I haven't made any sort of plan for this, so we're just going to go with it and see what happens. Yeah, so it is, when did I actually last stream? It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, something like that. It was definitely before many things happened. So, sorry, getting comfortable is quite difficult at the moment. But I'm here a bit early because I'm feeling a bit better right now. And we're going to take advantage of that because I actually feel like sitting here and talking for half an hour or so. So we're going to do that. I'm sort of hoping to stream tomorrow the pre-patch for the World of Warcraft expansion drops. And I'm kind of thinking of streaming then and to play that, to see if I could do a gaming stream again. But we'll see how I'm feeling. The thing with the gaming streams is that they tend to be a bit longer. So that's, it's a bit harder to manage because sitting in the same place right now for like a long period of time is quite hard and not good for me. I've actually got a timer arriving at some point today that will hopefully not arrive whilst we're here because that would be problematic. And that's to help me remember to stand up periodically, which is one of the things I've noticed I'm not doing when I'm studying. I'm also not doing it when I'm working. I'm not doing it when I'm playing games. I'm basically not doing it when I'm in this room. It's a problem. I'm also going to take my headphones off now that I know that the sound levels are right, because then I can actually hear myself talking and I don't have to shout. Because those headphones are great because they're really noise cancelling, which is great until you start talking and then it's very weird. Like if you're on a call, it's not so bad because you're talking back and forth with people, but when it's like just me talking, it's particularly strange. But yeah, so in terms of like all the stuff that's happened, the biggest thing for me is that, and I've blogged about this that you might have seen if you follow me on social media, which is basically just Twitter. I do technically have Instagram, but I don't post there very often. I don't like Facebook. I did have a professional Facebook page for a bit and I deleted it a long time ago and was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. This is a terrible service and I don't want to use it. I do still use it though, because it's where all my friends are. And that's the problem with Facebook, is everyone is still there and you can't, I'd love to move exclusively over to Twitter, but then like Twitter has all of my academic contacts and stuff and a lot of my like online contacts, but not like my friends, because a lot of them don't use Twitter at all. So yeah, it's awkward and weird. But yes, so I have posted there and I've blogged about it a couple of times, but last week I went into hospital to see a rheumatologist about all the pain I've been having. If you're relatively new here, I have chronic pain that I've had for about 10 years to varying degrees, and over the last like 18 months. Thank you for following, Emily. Enjoy the Lord of the Rings quote, which I didn't hear because I don't have my headphones on. Yeah, so over the past 18 months, it's got very, very bad. It's all like I had a spike in it about 5 or 6 years ago, and I went to an osteopath then and was told that I was slightly hypermobile and that what was happening was that my muscles weren't strong enough, that they weren't holding things in place, basically. And actually, that's something that the rheumatologist said she does think is true. But she also diagnosed me with fibromyalgia, which basically is a problem in the brain with interpreting pain and interpreting stimuli as pain. So the pain itself is real, but it doesn't have an origin, say, from an injury or from, damage in your nerves or things like that. No, we don't really understand how fibromyalgia works, though, is the other thing. There are some things that are associated with it, like what's called tender points, which are multiple points across the body. I want to say there's 8 of them, but I'm not. There might be 12. For example, I have points on the sides of my hips, which at times can be so tender that if I lightly brush my side, I'm in agony, which obviously is weird. It makes the fact that I'm a side sleeper particularly difficult. Sleeping is terrible. But yeah, so I've had this diagnosis. I wasn't expecting to get a diagnosis that quickly. Obviously, it's comparatively not that quick because, as said, I've had this for 10 years. I spent many years going to doctors and getting the what is basically the standard reaction if you're a woman and you present with pain, especially if you have any history of mental illness, is that you get given painkillers and told to go away, or you get referred to psychiatric treatment. That's I can't remember the studies, like the names of the studies now, but I wrote a paper on chronic pain at the beginning of this year when it started, because what I wanted to do when I was in pain was write about pain some more and think about how much I was in pain. So that has all happened. It has been a lot to process. I basically took most of last week off between needing to go to the hospital. I had no idea how long it was going to take. I ended up being there about 2 hours in the end, between sort of waiting. I had some tests done before I went in to see the consultant. Then I was in with a consultant for probably 45 minutes or so, and then waiting to be picked up to come home. It wasn't as traumatic as I thought it might be, but it also was at the same time. I could have argued to take my husband in with me as my carer, but I decided in the end that for me, because obviously you're limited on who can go in right now because of COVID restrictions, which for me is comforting, especially because in the hospital people were actually adhering to COVID restrictions, unlike, say, the supermarket, where it's illegal to not wear a mask now, but people are still not wearing a mask, or they're doing, they're wearing their mask here, because that totally fixes everything. Anyway, the point is that I felt a bit more comfortable because of those restrictions, and also I decided I'd rather have, because I'm basically weighing up the stress of arguing to take someone in with me potentially, against, because he's not registered as my carer or anything like that. There's no official status there. So it would be me saying, no, really, I need this person with me, but with nothing to, no paperwork to back it up. And then the counterbalance to that is the stress of being in there on my own. And in the end, I decided that the stress of being in there on my own was better for me. That's not, I chose what I thought was the lesser of two evils, basically. That's what I'm saying. So yes, that happened. And that was almost a week ago now, because it was last Thursday, and I still haven't fully processed it. So I did no studying last week, because I didn't have my mentoring session, because that was meant to be on the Thursday morning, and obviously I was still in hospital at that point. I also postponed my supervision, which was meant to be the day after. I just emailed my supervisor and said, hey, I could do this if you can't postpone, but I might not be 100%. And indeed I wasn't, because I felt like shit the next day. Because what happened is, because I'd done a bit more walking and moving around, obviously the day was very stressful. So by the time I got to the end of Thursday, I was in absolute agony, because stress can cause fibro to flare up quite quickly. So yeah, that wasn't particularly great. And I've been in more pain than my standard level of pain. My minimum level of pain is not 0. My minimum level of pain on the really problematic scale of 1 to 10 is a 2 or a 3. And that's constant. And you might be thinking, a 2 or 3 isn't bad, but once you're in that constantly and there's not really anything you can do to get rid of it, because one of the things with fibro pain is that it's quite painkiller resistant because of the nature of how it manifests. Also, I can only take one kind of painkiller at the moment, because I had a a really bad reaction to NSAIDs. I don't know, there's probably like a way that doctors pronounce the acronym. Ibuprofen-based painkillers cause a lot of gastric and kidney problems, and I had a really bad gastric reaction, which actually left me unable to breathe. And I ended up in A&E earlier this year. So that, obviously I can't take that sort of painkiller. So I'm only able to take one kind, which is I'm taking cocodamol basically. So that's paracetamol and codeine. But your body becomes resistant to that in time, on top of the fact that my pain is already resistant to it. So basically, I'm on painkillers, but they're not really doing a great deal right now. One of the things that I've now been referred to the chronic pain clinic. I can speak, which hopefully will help, and hopefully, like with them, I'll be able to find some better ways of managing my pain in a way that actually works. I'm doing as much as I can in the meantime myself, with stuff that I've learned, like heat works really well. I've just bought an amazing heated blanket, and it's a miracle that I pried myself out of it to come here, basically. But yeah, and I realise all of that is like not studying, but one of the things that's really important to me is to talk about that in the context, because we're not, no one like has an academic career in isolation from the rest of their life. Like my academic career is influenced by the fact that I'm also working and I'm also disabled, and I think it's really important to, I think certainly when I was looking at stuff like doing a PhD and things like that, I was looking at a lot of YouTube videos and stuff to see vlogs for people who were doing PhDs, especially those doing them here in the UK, because it's very different to the US system. And we, I think, in turn are different to the European system, and the Australian system is different, and I don't even know about other parts of the world. So yeah, it's an important thing to talk about. And I feel like I'm now justifying the fact that I'm talking about it, which in itself is a byproduct of the stigma against chronic illness. So yeah, anyway, that has happened. So understandably, I felt like I needed to revise how I was approaching things, because I'd also again gotten into the place where I was feeling slightly disconnected from studying. I'd had that amazing supervision, and then I'd hit the milestone of at the start of October, or before the end of September rather, I had gotten to halfway through my word count for my dissertation, so I had to have 12,000 words, and I had gotten to 7,200 because I'd had this sudden burst. I tend to binge write. That's not unusual for me, but because I'm writing something in a fragmented style, it's a bit weird. Because to binge write a few thousand words means I've actually written, 6 or 7 fragments, depending on the length of those fragments, like they're varying. So yeah, I'd had that, and then I think basically I was kind of in like a major writing hangover from that, and so I didn't do anything for a bit, and then that rolled into going into hospital, and then so when I was home sort of on that Thursday night and on the Friday trying to think about how I was going to work things out, that's where I looked at adjusting my schedule, because one of the things I've noticed is now term has started again, which obviously was a few weeks ago, but now I've started to have events happen on the days where I was taking completely off, so that would be Tuesday and Wednesday previously, because I have found that having a schedule, it really helps me, like in terms of managing my mental illness, so making sure that I don't work too much, but also that I do achieve things regularly, so that I don't, end up feeling like I'm lost. That's really important to me, but the flip side to that is if I stick to that too strictly, then it just goes really badly because I stress myself out, and I'm probably doing more things than I should be, but I want to do all of those things. But I'm trying to make sure that, I've got more room to be flexible. And one of the things that's happening at the moment is basically I can't do mornings. I'm awake during them, but I can't achieve anything in the morning. Most of the time I'm struggling to get out of bed because of the physical discomfort and pain I'm in, or the exhaustion, because one of the symptoms of fibro, and this now makes my entire life make sense, is that when you sleep doesn't refresh you as much as it should do. So basically I can get 8 hours sleep and feel like I've had 2. And that has always been the case. And it turns out this is why. So that was like, it was such a weird thing to learn, because for so many years my brain weasels have been saying, well, you're really lazy because you don't get out of bed until blah. And because I struggle with getting up in general, I've had a lot of medications I've been on where the side effect is that it's really soporific, so then getting up in the morning is even harder, which then makes more sense that it's combining with this as well. And I'm just so angry at my brain weasels for telling me I was lazy for years, when in fact I was experiencing yet another side effect. Just a side effect from my illness that I didn't know I had, rather than a side effect from my medication for one of the other illnesses. It's a trip. But yeah, so I have redone, and I'm going to pull it up in front of me, so that I can explain this. I have redone my schedule so that I now don't study on the real weekend. I don't study Saturday or Sunday. I instead study Monday to Friday. And the reason that I did that is that, as I say, a lot of these events, like guest lectures and stuff that I wanted to go to, were happening on Tuesday or Wednesday. And, I didn't want to miss them. But I also didn't want to, impinge on my resting time. So basically I'm doing a few hours each weekday. But I'm being much more flexible with it. I'm as much blocking out that I want to study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon, and then I want to try and do Thursday and Friday morning. I kind of have to do Thursday morning because that's when my mentoring is, and my supervision is this Friday morning, and also clashes with 2 other things I want to go to, so I can't do all 3. I have to do my supervision. But yeah, so that I'm trying it. We're going to see what happens. It might not work. I started late today because I was in my heated blanket and I didn't want to move because everything hurt, and everything is starting to hurt again. So I'm quite glad I did decide to do this now, because I might have not managed it otherwise. But my aim is to stream on Tuesday and Friday, because then I'll have started the week. And then I'll get a sort of a roundup at the end of the week as well. So I think that should work quite well. But obviously it is dependent on me being able to sit here for half an hour at a time. Because I think anything less than that feels a bit weird. Like, if I was doing this just as a YouTube video, then it would be fine. And I am working on uploading those, by the way. I've had to do some other behind the scenes stuff of moving around what's where. And I've got to go through and just sort the videos out and crop them and stuff like that. I'm not in a rhythm of what I'm doing with that, and I'm still catching up. So it's hard to sort of do it. Like, ideally, I'll end up doing it straight after the stream happens, or the day after or something like that. But obviously I've still got I've got 5 or 6 to catch up with. So once I've caught up with that, it will be fine. And I'm not pressuring myself to do it because it's a thing I'm doing for fun. I'm only putting them on there to archive them. Basically, it's not the primary places here, and also 5 people have ever watched any of these. So if you have, hi, I love you, you're great. I'm really not doing this for other people though, I'm doing it for myself. But yeah, so I've done well. It's only been yesterday and today thus far, but hey, that's quite a lot in 2020 terms, where a month is like a decade. So yesterday, what did I do? In fact, I'll tell you from my bullet journal. Yesterday was a very weird day because I got to studying late again. I think I didn't get out of bed until 3 p.m. That's how bad a day it was. And then I put makeup on and got dressed, and I sat down here, and apparently eyeliner is magic, because suddenly I've got a big to read folder that I've talked about before, which is like loads of articles that I've seen that have come up on Twitter or I've found referenced and I've saved them so I can read them later. I read 2 articles from that, and then I went, well, okay, I've managed this. I might as well open my dissertation folder and see what I can do, because I knew that I basically needed to send something to my supervisor. I had stuff even then to send to my supervisor because I'd done a load of writing since the last time I'd seen her to get to that halfway milestone. And I started writing and I was like, okay, because I've worked out that it's falling into 3 sections now. And I had the first section basically sorted, and like there were some gaps I needed to fill in and some bits I needed to rewrite and some sort of notes from part of what I'd shown my supervisor last time that I needed to do some revision on. And I sat down and started doing that, and suddenly I had written 1,500 words. And my word count is now 8,700 of 12,000. So I haven't done any writing today, and I don't mind. Because I did so much, and I got that entire first section, which is about 4,000 words, so it is about a third. I got it done completely. And I don't think it's completely perfect, but I'm really happy with it and how it's come out and what I've done. And I'm really excited to find out what my supervisor thinks of it. So I emailed it to her, and just sort of sat around in a daze because I didn't really understand how I'd managed to do that. But I did. So that happened. But I also did do quite well at managing how I was feeling, because I sort of did that. I had to work in the evening, but I was able to do everything more slowly and steadily and get everything I absolutely needed to done, but also not worry about doing everything. So that was really nice. Today I have read 2 articles. They turned out not to be very long. One was actually just taking some references down because it was a list of 8 sci-fi and fantasy books about mental illness. So really I was just writing down references at that point for things that I want to read, both in general and for my PhD. Because I'm still trying to find primary sources, especially ones that directly, and because I basically need my sources to explicitly say that they're about mental illness. You get a lot of books that are like, well, this person probably has insert mental illness here, but it's not explicit. And I don't have a huge number of sources where they've actually said, no, this book is about a person with this condition. So that's really useful because I found several that do. And I did open my dissertation document and I looked at it and I went, yep, and then I closed it. So, but that's okay because, as mentioned, I did do a lot yesterday. So whilst I'd written down the thing that I want to do next, which is to go through and basically do what I've done with section 1 to section 2, work out all the gaps in it, work out what I need to do to it to make it work, how I want it to work as a whole. Section 2 has a lot more of the academic writing in. It feels like basically my academic writing in the piece as a whole starts quite low-key, ramps up in that second part, and then drops off again in the third, just because of the nature of the subjects. So we'll see how that goes. I know that there's a few extra things, like whole sections of academic theory that I want to put in that one that I haven't done yet. So that is the next thing that I will do, but it's fine that I don't feel like doing it today, because I've got 2 more weeks to do all of that and all of section 3 in order to be at the 12,000 words that I want to by the end of October. And if I run over, and I've built time in, I've talked about this before, to overrun with that, because my deadline is actually the 23rd of November. 23rd of November? 21st of November. No, show me this by month. 21st of November. I think it might have been the 23rd of August originally. I think that's what I'm thinking of. So yeah, I've got loads of time in November to edit, to revise, stuff like that. And in a way, a lot of what I am doing right now with some of these sections is revision. Because of the sort of interwoven nature of what I'm doing, I need the individual pieces to work in order to put them together. So that's cool. That's going well. And it, you know, even if the thing is, technically I need to write like 150 words a day now to have the word count by the end of the month. I know that's not how it's actually going to work, because I know I need to chop a load of words out of section 2 and then replace them with more words. So I think my word count is inflated a bit above what it's actually going to be, because I currently have a couple of bits of LARP character specific writing that I think I want to cut down a bit. I've just put them in their original forms right now of the sections that I've cropped out. So I might then edit them down so that they won't quite be the original version, but no one needs to hear me ramble about the different kinds of demons that my character once fought. You know, that's not that's not relevant in this section when it's, you know, about role-playing, being in relationships with people. No one cares that we fought bee demons. I mean, that's quite funny, but no one cares. It's not relevant. It's kind of relevant. It's not wholly relevant. Anyway, the point is, if I had one day a week like yesterday, I will still be fine. And I think I'm getting better at trusting myself with that, because it's a really hard thing. If you're a person who tends to binge write and you're writing to a deadline, that's a hard thing to manage. I actually think that this is one of the things where writing fan fiction is really good practice for writing other stuff, because if you write, for example, if you do a fan fiction over several years where you're writing 1 chapter a week, you're going to get really good at managing how your writing habit and style in terms of like how many words you write and when and how often and that sort of thing. You're going to get really good at managing that with having a deadline, but in a way that's very like gentle and not a problem. So I think that's one of the ways where writing fan fiction in the past and currently has helped me, is getting used to going, no, actually it's okay. I know I sometimes sit down and write 8,000 words in one go, because I have done that before. I think I spent, not my birthday this year, but my birthday last year, I spent 9 hours writing a fanfic. And so that was a fantastic way to spend my birthday, frankly. Yeah, so basically that's where I am. So in terms of like looking on from now, yeah, obviously that's the thing I want to do next, is work on that next section. I have mentoring on Thursday, where I will get to tell my mentor all about my diagnosis and everything that's happening, and obviously I'm still trying to process that, so I'm still trying to be gentle. It may be that I don't do much studying tomorrow. I'm going to keep writing down into my bullet journal what I would want to do, so I know it's there. I don't have like the additional fatigue of having to decide what I want to do. It's just there, and if I'm able to do it, I can do it, and if I'm not, I don't have to. And then I have supervision on Friday, and I'll be streaming as well, so that might be quite a tiring day. We'll see what happens re-stream. It may be that I end up like streaming in the afternoon, because then that's a bit easier, but rather than at 9 a.m. I think putting it at 9 a.m. was a little bit optimistic at me, given that whole conversation about how I can't do mornings right now. So we'll see. Maybe that will be more around this time. But yeah, and then I've got 2 more weeks until the end of October to get that remaining not very many words done. It's like by the time I've cut some stuff out, it's going to be about 3,000, 3 or 4,000, and that's only 2 more days like yesterday. So I think I'm actually in a really good place. I'm really liking as well that I'm able to do things like schedule time for my reading group, because my reading group next week is actually on Tuesday. So I've got all of Monday to do the reading, and I'm going to devote Monday to just that, because it's a book with a collection of essays that we're reading. So whilst we've only got like 5 of those chapters set, I want to read all of it, because I quite like doing that, especially because I really like the sound of the book. I'm really excited. And yeah, I think just getting time to generally do some more reading. I had a load of books arrive, which made me very happy. One of them is The Body Keeps the Score by Van der Kolk, which is, I'm not very far into it because it's quite heavy going, because it's about trauma. And obviously a lot of his case studies that he uses are quite hard to read. I know I've heard some people saying that it's especially hard to read if you are a sexual assault survivor, someone who's experienced sexual assault, because of some of his descriptions are very specific as to sort of the origin of the trauma and the incidents that happened. But I'm also reading this, which is Super Sick by Alison Alexander, and it's so good. It's about it's basically a memoir about coming to terms with living with chronic illness, but from someone who's a nerd, and so they use lots of references to that. The whole first chapter is about Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange's relationship with pain, and then the chapter I'm reading now is about My Hero Academia, which I'm not as familiar with, but there's a character in that that's ill, and Fire Emblem as well. So there's all sorts of different things. It's really, really cool. And I've got another book that's arriving, which is called Disability Visibility, and is a disability studies book, which I think is also a collection of essays. So I've got so many books, and it's great, and I'm really excited to read them all. So it's lovely to be doing that as well, and to be feeling sort of reinvigorated about that too, which is fantastic. But yeah, so that's where I am. I will be back again on Friday. I've actually gone over half an hour this time, but as the title says, a lot has happened this week, and we'll see how it goes. I may on Friday end up streaming later because of mornings, but we'll see how I'm doing. Sometimes I am having good night's sleep, so it might be okay, but if I have a night like last night where I don't get to sleep until 4 a.m. because I'm so uncomfortable, then I probably won't be here at 9 a.m. But if you want to keep up to date with all that sort of thing, then keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll try and post the night before if I think I'm not going to be able to do it on time. I like that I'm still doing this, even though I know I'm not really getting any people watching this, but act as you wish to manifest your reality or something. I think I've just mushed 5 different idioms together there. But yeah, so I will leave it there for now. Thank you all for watching. If there's any of you out there, it might just be me. It's not, because I got someone followed, so thank you. But yes, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you again on Friday, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. Thank you.